The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome back into the Ingles studio. We are the Sportsocracy, seen at thesportsocracy.com. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, always brought to you by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings, and it is time for another edition of Mullet's Draft Questions. Anything and everything you want to know about the NFL Draft coming up in just 10 days. April 28th, we will be covering all 3 days live here in the Sportsocracy. And anything, like I said, any question you got, throw it out in the comments.
And we've already had our first one of those.
I'm here for the gangbang.
Oh,
Okay.
Nope.
I'm here for the gangbang.
And
I'm your huckleberry.
Colin's very generous donation. That is the easiest way to get our attention with questions pertaining to the draft. He asked, and he's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, trading up to 13 with the Texans. What do you think about giving them pick 30, picking up a receiver like Williams or one of the Georgia wide receivers? Who are you taking there and why? I will take both sides of that question. I fully believe if Houston is one of the pivot points of teams that could actually trade down. There are only a handful of those. Looking at the draft order now, Seattle is the number one. They are the most likely to trade down.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets, if Jermaine Johnson was not there and Drake London was not there, and it may even be if Jameson Williams wasn't there, then they would be a team that was possible to trade down. Then you get to the Minnesota Vikings, who I know have had conversations with – they've had conversations going on both sides, trading up to 9 with Seattle, trading back to 17 with the Los Angeles Chargers. And then you get into Houston, and that's really about it. I would say everybody else in the top 20 is pretty locked in place. Now, if Kansas City were to trade up, it would be for Jameson Williams. I don't think he's going to get to 13. Everything I've heard is you can expect Jameson Williams to go in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question would be, do they get to Garrett Wilson? Is Garrett Wilson enough for you to come up to 13? I would say so. He's actually the one I like best with Kansas City because he's ready week one. Jameson Williams may miss the first half of the season. I don't think he will, but he might.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Houston did that, you're in total talent accumulation mode. The trade back from – let me pull up my – handy-dandy trade value chart, which is not a hard and fast rule, but it is a pretty good gauge of what you would get. The two Kansas City picks would be $1,260. Houston's would be $1,150, so Houston would have to give them what equaled the 97th pick. So you're probably looking at a next year's third. If I'm Houston, I would probably be interested in that. This is a really deep draft. I mean, really deep. So if somebody falls in love with a player, and Jameson Williams is the target that I have heard, Jermaine Johnson does have a lot of interest. That's another player that's going to go in the top 10. If he doesn't go at 8 to Atlanta, 9 to Seattle, he will go 10 to the Jets. If the Jets stay at 10, I will almost bet you $1 to a donut they take. As of right now, I would say the Jets go Ika Mekwonu at 4 and Jermaine Johnson at 10. That's the way it looks right now.
Right. So there are players that teams will be willing to trade up for.
Just depends on who they are.
Just not so high in the draft.
Well, it just depends on who they are. There are a lot of people that feel some kind of way about the receivers. Some teams think there is a huge drop-off from Jameson Williams and Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
And Drake London has – I'm not going to say he hurt himself. Not running and the response has not done him any favors.
Okay.
John Delano asked, didn't Jimmy Johnson make the draft pick chart? Yes, he did. Eric Miller, or actually, let's go back to the top. Rob Johnson asked, is Brian Haynes going to join the draft show? That is the goal. We are efforting that. I saw Brian not long ago, and I basically said, your presence is expected.
Right.
And we will find a way to make all of the things work.
Right.
So the answer to that is we really hope so. We are greatly efforting that. Eric Miller asked, is there any way Seattle could trade down for 2 more number 2s? Seattle has basically talked to every team that will listen about trading down. I don't think there's a player that they're just drunk on being there. If Sauce Gardner was there, I think it would be hard for them to pass on that. If one of the linemen got there, I think it'd be hard to pass on that. But even then, they're the team that the most hype is happening about them moving, which makes me think that that's very basically what I was told. It was very high likelihood that they do not pick at 9.
Well, at this point, if I were Seattle, I would be looking to get as many players as possible.
Well, usually when a team starts talking about trading down like this, because they have multiple players that they want. I've said that about the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second round. Pittsburgh. One of the fun things about doing mocks and things like that, you can look at who visits with teams, and I can't tell you that it's going to give you the greatest idea of who they're going to take. It will tell you what they're after. It like, just an example, the Washington Commanders have brought in damn near every running back with a pulse in this class. Mm-hmm. What that tells me, they're going to take a running back in the first 2 days. One way or another, they're going to come out of the first 2 days with a running back. It's just a question of who it is. I think Seattle has their eyes on multiple pieces. They want a quarterback. They don't want one at 9. It's just a question of who would make it work. And those things will become slightly more clear as time goes on. I would watch Green Bay. I would watch Kansas City. In terms of coming up, those are the 2 most likely, I would say. And a follow-up to Miller's question, what is the value on 9? It's $13.50. So the 2 Kansas City picks plus something would get them all the way up there. And I think that would be their ideal, because then they could come down, take the quarterback that they're after, and I don't actively know who that is. Desmond Ridder has the most hype of any quarterback in this class right now. Mm-hmm. So he's the one that I'm looking at going, you're going to go higher than I think you will. And Sam Howell's catching a lot of love all of a sudden. I just don't think it's where you want it to be. Right. I think he's catching early second-round love, which is stupid to me. But
I saw where he was in visiting today with the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
Him and Ike Ekwonu, who one of them will be there at 6. The other one should not.
Ike Ekwonu's not going to be there.
Right.
I'll just go ahead and tell you. He ain't making it past the 2 New York teams. No shot.
Well, like you were just saying, like Seattle would want to trade down, unless Sauce Gardner were there. I can't see him getting outside of the top 4.
The Jets will not take Sauce.
Really?
Nope. Pass rush.
They've taken him off the board?
No, he's not off the board. It's just they don't value him that high.
Oh, okay.
Robert Saleh thinks he can throw any undrafted free, as long as his pass rush is good enough, and he likes the guys they took last year, Michael Carter in the slot, and Bryce Hall. He thinks Bryce Hall's a good 2. Mm-hmm. DJ Reed's the 1. So I now am more looking at Sauce Gardner to the Giants. I think that's if they could facilitate a Bradbury deal, and I think his drop dead is with Seattle at 9. Let's see.
Hosey.
Who's your highest rated prospect that could be there for the Bengals? Best case scenario. So their video will be out this evening. I think it comes out at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. Anytime we say a time, it's Eastern Standard Time. I had them taking David Ojabo, because I think Cincinnati is in one of those rare positions where they don't have that drastic need. There's nothing like, you're not going to be playing somebody that be playing in the USFL if you don't do blank. And since a Bengals question was asked, let me pull up my notes. I was not prepared to do the Bengals yet, so you tell the people something lovely, and then I will.
Well, I mean, David Ojabo would not be a bad one. See, with him and Jameson Williams, there's been a lot of talk of, are these guys worth high draft capital because they're going to miss a good portion of the season? And in my opinion, the answer is absolutely yes. I mean, if you feel like they can be the next big thing at their respective positions, what do you really care that they're going to miss the first half of the year? Like, the Cincinnati Bengals don't need him.
No. For the Bengals, you just take the best player on your board.
Right. But if you think the guy's going to be good for the next 5 years, you're going to pick up that 5th-year option on him, taking him high in the draft. If you're picking high in the draft right now, you're not competitive anyway.
Well, and I'll just tell you, with the Bengals, looking at my notes, the name that I have So here's the way my dumbass does notes. When I hear something for about the fifth time, I'll take it and put it into caps. If I hear it more than that, and I don't really track that particularly well, but if I've heard it a lot, then I'll bolden it. Trey McBride's name is completely bolded out in huge letters, and I have actually gotten it bigger. I cannot stop hearing Trey McBride with the Cincinnati Bengals, so I think that's their fail-safe at 31. Cincinnati is a team that I said from the get-go, you watch them do this. Because by hook or by crook, where they've been, all that shit, they've done a very good job in the draft, and it's not been real conventional. You watch them be the team that looks at one of these quarterback-needy teams, the Colts, the Seahawks, the Lions, whatever the case may be, and we'll move down into the beginning of the second round. You get our pick here, and we just accumulate talent. And if Trey McBride's one that I hear that name with them so often that it's just absolutely hard for me to believe that that's not going to happen. Kelvin Joyner asked, any high priority undrafted free agents? Ironic that you asked that question because there are a few. Tariq Carpenter is a hybrid safety linebacker out of Georgia Tech. If he doesn't go in the back 20 picks, because on grade alone, he's not really a draftable player, but there's so much raw. He crushed the pro day. That makes them very interesting. You have to be careful. Ball State linebacker Jalen Thomas is another one. God, there's a billion of them. As I remember them, I'll chuck them out there. And after the draft going into the third day, we will have a video of guys that I don't think are going to get drafted. Just a quick 30 seconds on almost like an undrafted free agent guide of guys that catch a lot of heat. Eric Johnson was one of those guys. Now I can almost tell you he's going to go in the top 5. He'll be the first player drafted that wasn't at the combine. Eric Johnson. Samari Torre. That's the other one I was trying to remember. Receiver out of Nebraska. I couldn't remember his first name.
Eric Johnson. Who's he?
He's a defensive tackle out of Missouri State.
Okay.
He'll be the number one player that wasn't invited to the combine. And I'll be honest with you, I don't understand how he wasn't invited to the combine. I think the people that make that decision should have to justify it because every year there's a guy that makes 0 sense, and that's one of them. Let's see. Alex Majabi. A lot of Chargers fans don't like Trevor Penning. How do I feel about him? Is he worth it at 7? Abso-fucking-lutely. The thing about Penning is that the people in the industry like him better than the lay fan do. And I'll tell you why I think that is. It's because he's a mountain. So people look at him and go, oh, speed rushers are going to get you, blah, 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 blah. The way to mitigate that is to have somebody like Rashawn Slater on the other side that's so mobile and so valuable. And then you look at the rest of that line and just go, I can deal with that. To me, I would love Trevor Penning there. I think the Chargers are more after Charles Cross. That's the name that I keep hearing attached to them. The trade up with Minnesota that everybody and their brother is on. That's where I think that comes. I can tell you there's a team in the NFL that has Charles Cross at number 1. He is their number 1 player on the board.
Really?
Yes.
You can't tell us who?
I don't know who. Oh. There is a team that has Charles Cross at number 1.
Okay.
That was told to me. Eric Miller asked, could Kyle Hamilton fall into the 20s? No. I think his drop dead spot's Washington. I think if he's there at 11, Washington would take him and do it happily.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get that far. Every year there's a player that falls way further than we think they will. And there's a player that we keep hearing is going to fall, and then they don't. And Kyle Hamilton, I think, falls into that second. To me, it gets hard for me to look at, like, Atlanta. You know, Atlanta has so many needs. How do you pass on – I mean, he's my 1. He's number 1 in this draft class to me.
Yeah.
But he ran a 4. I don't care. I do not care. I do not care.
I love this one. Jason Trump says, is there a way we could get Couch Guy on the draft show as well?
I don't know if we can get the original Couch Guy, but we can probably get a Couch Guy. If you've been around long enough to know that. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
If not, go back and watch our draft coverage. That was before we even had a YouTube channel. That was on Facebook.
Right. We were Facebook streaming live, and the guy was on the couch behind us, drunk as piss. Would not shut up. Like we're trying to break down draft picks, and he's just talking.
But we love the guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He doesn't live here anymore, does he?
No, I don't think so.
I think he moved.
I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he did.
Yeah, but if you want to be our drunk couch guy, we're taking applications.
100%. All you got to be drunk
and a little loud.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and guy, you don't have to be a guy.
No,
you can be a drunk couch girl.
Right.
That's completely a thing.
The one thing that we can't have is drunk couch kids.
No,
don't do that.
That's crimes. We don't do crimes.
By the way, that was almost my weird story today. There was a story of a kindergartner who took screwdrivers to school.
Bad call.
And was handing it out to all the kids.
That bad call.
Yeah, that's
orange juice and vodka. I learned that one at about 13.
Yeah. Kindergarten? That's a little too young for that. That kid knows way too much about life.
You want to know why I am the way I am? Aristocrat vodka and orange juice. That shit right there, that'll make you something. Tyler Cunningham, do you think Houston will grab Aquanu or Thibodeau at 3? Because I know one of them will fall to 5. That is kind of the fulcrum point of the draft, because right now we feel pretty certain that Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker are going to go in some combination at 1 and 2. I can tell you the Detroit Lions have a preference, and I think it's that Trayvon Walker goes 1. I believe that's why the feeling out process is happening to the extent that it is, because Detroit does want Aiden Hutchinson, for better or worse. He fits the culture, and there are just a lot of weird grades right now on Georgia players. Nakobe Dean's falling like a rock. Mm-hmm. I mean, like top of the second round, falling like a rock. And I will tell you this: I don't know how many teams this is. It's more than one have taken Devontae White off the board entirely.
Really?
He's 7th round. We wouldn't touch him.
Why?
Character. I don't. And look, with the character issues, I have a guy. If that guy knows directly, I can tell you what the character issues are. Sam Williams. Shoot me a message on Twitter. I don't know that I can say some of that shit into a camera and not end up on a TSA list.
Right.
There's some issues there. But Devontae Wyatt's got some serious bad pub happening right now.
Okay.
Spencer Jansen from the UK. Love the show. Thank you for that. Do you think the Browns will go wide receiver or defensive tackle with their first pick? If I'm Cleveland, I know sitting where I'm at with the second rounder that a receiver is going to fall in my lap. There's too many of them. Mm-hmm. And there's too many that have come up the board. A guy that I mentioned on the ESPN show, Isaiah Weston, is getting copious amounts of love right now. That's the name that you're going to say way earlier than you think. I don't Matt Miller has put it this way. We're both on the same page. Isaiah Weston's going to go in a double-digit pick, and he shouldn't. He's 6'4", ran a 4.4 240, and that's wonderful and all. Why did I never see you do anything like that at Northern Iowa? I've watched the tape back, and I like the kid. I just like the kid in like the 5th round, the 6th round. And so, the height, weight, speed thing, I do like those guys, but there's a value.
Jahan Dotson in that 44 range. I've seen him projected there a lot.
Yeah, Calvin Austin is the one they're really in on. Calvin Austin, the 3rd out of Memphis, is the guy that – and I don't know that would be their first pick. To me, Cleveland needs to walk away from the first 2 picks of this draft with the 2 that Spencer asked me about, wide receiver, defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's where it comes into building your board. All right, so you look at your pick at 40 – was it 42, 44, somewhere in there? You look at that and go, okay, I can get Jahan Dotson, and then if I'm stuck – then it's like DeMarvin Leal, who then would be playing out of position or whatever the case may be. Or I can go get Perry and Winfrey, who I could slide inside of Jadeveon Clowney. That takes away the pass rush issue because Perrion's such a good pass rusher. And then, the receiver, then you're looking at the sweet spot of Calvin Austin. That's what I would say is more likely with the Browns. I think if I had to guess right now, it would be Perry and Winfrey with the 2nd-round pick and then take Calvin Austin with the 3rd. Zeke 0. I'm hoping the Titans trade down for an early 2nd. What do you think the Titans should be doing in the first 2 to 3 rounds? Let me pull up my Titans notes. I did this in alphabetical order, which was really stupid. Because I should have known this wasn't going to happen in alphabetical order.
I was going to say, how would you prepare for that other than putting it in alphabetical order?
2 chicks at the same time. That's how. I can tell you they're going to take a tight end early because they've talked to damn near all of them. I mean, all of them. Trey McBride, Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods is the one that I would really keep an eye on with Tennessee because, like I said, I think Trey McBride ends up in Cincinnati, maybe with a trade down. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go. Jelani Woods, there's a lot of heat on him. He has just skyrocketed up boards because he's such a height, weight, speed monster. Chiggy Okonkwo, depending on what you're asking him to do, I've made the comp on Jonnu Smith because that's kind of who he reminds me of. And then there's the fail-safe of, hey, we can take Jalen Wydermyer with a 7th-round pick because everybody hates him. He started rubbing his Peter on people's belongings, and that's the only way I can understand how he's fallen this far.
He ran the defensive tackle 40.
I don't care if he ran a 7. Watch the damn tape. Greg Dulcich is another name to watch with the Titans. In terms of other players to look for, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound really weird when I say it. I'm not saying this is what I would do. I'm just, okay, this is reading the tea leaves, things I've been told. They've been way more attached to quarterbacks than I would have ever thought. And there is a team at the back end of the first round that really likes Desmond Ridder. I ain't saying it's Tennessee. I'm just saying if I take these two pieces of information I have and sandwich them together, the Tennessee Titans are the one that makes that make sense. Another guy that I know they're really high on is Travis Jones. Travis Jones is going to go at the back half of the first round, and the Tennessee Titans are a team that I just keep looking at it going, good God, I would love that. In terms of other – have we already put out the Titans video? No, I think it comes out. So. It comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I remember now. We had a Boo-Boo Kitty in that one. I forgot to hit the button.
Yeah,
my bad. Yeah. Sorry, Titans fans.
Okay.
I'll put your next content. I'll put out very early because I'm a big dumbass and didn't hit the button. Andrew Ayers said, "Huge Tampa Bay fan. What do you think is our biggest need, and what player do you see that could fall and we could get a steal?" I really like the idea of them taking Zion Johnson. That's just they have the most comfortable spot because they need a guard, and he fits what they do so well. And that would just be the Kappa replacement. Immediately, everything just works. Now, in terms of as you get later on, Logan Hall out of Houston is a guy that I love the fit there because I think he's a 3-4 defensive end. My fear is that a team's going to take him as a 4-3 rush end, and it's just not where he fits. He's very tall, very long. And that, to me, I think would be a steal with your 2nd-round pick. I have him – my big board will be coming out over the course of the next week. I want to say he's 44 stuck in my head, and it might just be stuck on the Browns, and that's where I think their 2nd-round pick is without any of my notes in front of me, which I currently have none of.
I don't feel like guard is our biggest need. I still feel like corner is our biggest need, but there's not going to be
But you
one.
live by that – it's that – drop back zone. And I will tell you, this is a player just to watch for, Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon's not making it out of the first round. Somebody's hot and heavy on him, and Tampa Bay does make some sense.
Yep.
I thought it was Buffalo originally, but Buffalo seems to be all over Nick Petit-Frere now, which is another player that's not making it out of the first round.
I mean, if Zion Johnson is there, I have said for about 2 months now that I believe that's the guy that we should get. Big Tampa Bay fan as well.
Ayers had a follow-up question that said, should we pick up Sam Howell if he's there? It depends. So if everything just goes to hell in a handbasket and there's no Zion Johnson, there's no ability to trade out. I mean, there are a couple other guys. Devontae Wyatt now I don't look at as I don't think he's on the board there. He's middle of the 2nd or maybe later, based on the character issues. For me, a lot of things would have to go wrong with Sam because to me, if I feel like some team either there's a whole shitload of smoke screen with Sam Howell, which is possible, or there's a team that plans on trading out of the first round for somebody to come get Desmond Ridder, and then Sam Howell opens up in that Indianapolis, Seattle, wherever the trade down happens spot. And I've said he's my number 1 quarterback in this draft class, and it's not all that close. Colin, I heard Williams did visit Kansas City. He did, and that's one of the reasons that when we did the team-by-team mocks, Kansas City came out earlier today. Kansas City made a trade up with Minnesota because you would have to trade up. And I'm telling you, if Jameson Williams makes it past 10, somebody's going to trade up to go get him. And I would watch Minnesota as the pivot point there because I don't think Washington would take him. And they wouldn't if Kyle Hamilton was still on board.
This is an interesting question.
I was about to say, you read the next question so I can take a sip of my Coca-Cola.
What do you think is the biggest reason teams still miss on first-round guys? First off, I mean, there's no guarantee that first-round guys are, that are going to be good anyway.
Yeah, that's not why. It's trying to shoehorn things in. That's usually, I mean, all right, I'll give you an example. Give me a year. It's sometime within the last handful of years.
2018.
Okay. All right, you go with your theory, and then I'll give mine.
I mean, you just don't know. You don't know until these guys get up against next level competition what they're going to be. You can look great at the college level, but you just don't know. Are there signs? Are there things that you can look at? Absolutely. We all feel like we have indicators of what's going to make a great NFL player, but just go back and look. I mean, you could just pull up the Wikipedia page on every draft in history and see how many of those guys turned out to be all pros or, Pro Bowlers or anything at the next level. And you get a handful out of every first round in history. You just don't know. I mean, missing on a guy in the first round, I don't feel like should be an indictment on a front office. Everybody misses.
Yeah, but there's a reason that teams like the Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, teams like that don't, because it's never, hey, we have to do this. All right, so the year that you asked me about was 2018.
Yep.
So you look at the bust, Baker Mayfield. He was one. Cleveland shoehorned in a quarterback. They fell in love with Baker, and they did not look at anything else. Usually it's tunnel vision, because you get wrapped up in a guy, and you like him, and you like the fit, and usually you outthink yourself. Saquon Barkley at 2. You should never take a fucking running back that high, ever. I don't care who it is. If Barry Sanders was in the NFL draft this year, he shouldn't go higher than 15. Sam Darnold, obviously, shoehorn. But then you get into like Mike McGlinchey, who, I mean, he's been fine at times, but San Francisco really needed a tackle. That was the best tackle on the board to them, so you reached.
Right.
Tremaine Edmonds, Buffalo really needed an inside linebacker, and there was a big drop from him to like Rashawn Evans, who went later in that round. And then I can't remember who the next in that tier was. That was a really weak like Oren Burks was the next inside linebacker that went. It was 2 rounds later. So it was a huge drop-off. Usually it's because teams don't value a position. All right, so you're looking at it going, we got to come away with this. And there's only one guy, and so you shoehorn that guy in. I'm going to be honest with you. Tyler Linderbaum in this class. There are a lot of teams that think like me that Linderbaum's a very high-level prospect, but he's kind of scheme-dependent. If you're in a big hog-a-molly offense, then I don't necessarily know how he's going to fit. I love Tyler Linderbaum with like Arizona, Minnesota, teams like that where I can use his ability to get out in space. If you're expecting him just to be Alex Mack, that's not going to happen. That's not who he is. And I look at that, and that's usually why busts happen. It's usually, I'll be honest with you, in the last 5 years, there has not been a just cataclysmic bust that blew my mind. Even Jeff Okudah, who went at 2, or 3. I looked at that and went, I don't love you being the one immediately. Corner's tough to transition to in the league. Then you lose your confidence, and now it's all come tumbling after.
That's why a lot of people have Detroit, they're mocking Sauce Gardner to them at 2, thinking that maybe that can help.
Well,
maybe they can finally hit a home run with the corner in the first round.
Well, and Rourier from last year is a guy I really like. It's, now you're just tapping out on Jeff Okudah. And I totally get that, and I'm not going to lie to you. I think you should. I am very high on Sauce Gardner. I think a lot of him. John DeLon in the comments said I'm not overly impressed with Gardner. I don't think he'll be a bust, but he's a late first-round corner at best. I disagree with you. He's very long. And to me, the comp on him is I just don't ever see him being worse than a back-end cornerback 1. And now in a lot of drafts, that would be a bust. You draft a guy at 2, and he becomes the 25th best corner in the league. In this draft, that may not be looked at as unsavory because there's a lot of teams that are trying to shoehorn players in. A lot of talk in the comments about the Chargers with Trevor Penning. I really like Penning there. It's just I would prefer Jordan Davis. That's the one place I really like Jordan Davis, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's getting past the Eagles at 15. If you remember, I said that 3 weeks ago. It didn't make a lick of fucking sense. It still didn't make all that much sense to me. And now it's gotten so hot and heavy that that's coming from somewhere. I mean, you're not. I don't feel like they're trying to make the Chargers piddle in their pants and trade up in front of them because that doesn't make any sense. Unless they're all in on Stingley and they're trying to get Minnesota behind them, which, okay. That could be why you're leaking that out. But that's one that I think it actually makes tangible sense that you would want him there. Whew. Let me take another sip of my Coca-Cola.
Kelvin Joyner says, who is your favorite guy from a small school?
Troy Anderson.
Troy Anderson from Montana.
By a lot. Montana State.
Montana
by
State,
a lot. Now, they're Hardy, Daniel Hardy, I think is his first name, is an edge rusher from Montana State that I really like. Joshua Williams from Fayetteville State, right not down the road, but a few hours from here. Zion McCollum from Sam Houston State. There are more small school guys I like.
Gregory Jr. from Wachita Baptist.
I like Gregory Jr., but he's a mid to late day 3 prospect kind of. I mean, Wachita Baptist is such a small school that you really have. I'm not going to say you have no idea what you're getting, but, I mean, this is good. You need to put in mothballs because he hasn't seen anybody that could sniff the NFL, but I do like the tape on him a lot. The Eric Johnson from Missouri State, who I mentioned earlier, the Saints have been really in on him, and I like the fit there. There are a ton of small school guys. I would say the ones that you know, and then day 3 of the draft, we'll get really hot and heavy. I got a list of those guys. If you would have an interest in a video of like a top 25 small school guys, put that in the comments. If you would watch it, we'll do it. I mean, it ain't like I don't have it.
Ooh, what would the name on that list be?
The little board of happiness over here.
What would the name on that team be?
God, who is my favorite who came from a little tiny ass school recently?
Oh, Kyle Duggar.
Like Kyle Duggar. That might be the Jeremy Chin list. We're Carolina affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most recent one that I really liked. That's probably what it'd be. If you'd watch it, put it in the comments. We'll happily do it.
Had one. What? Yeah. Who is Luigi Villain?
Love the name, but you're going out of order, and I'm going to get confused.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Guy, hi guys. What do you think Arizona's going to do at 23? To me, that is probably the ceiling on Kyler Gordon and the floor on Trent McDuffie. Whichever one happens, I can't tell you. There's a lot of heat on Kyler Gordon, and Trent McDuffie has gotten dead silent. So that's one of those where it gets really difficult. I'm hoping to have a little bit more knowledge on that as this week goes on. The visits and things like that. Those are great truth serum to cut through some of the bullshit. Because right now, virtually everything that you're told is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
There was another player I wanted to talk about with the Cardinals. It'll come to me. Especially when I look it up. Daniel Hardy was his name, by the way. George Karlaftis. That's the one. I'm not going to say that's like a landing spot. If somehow Kyler Gordon and Trent McDuffie were taken before them, I would say now you're getting into Karlaftis, David Ajabo. Could we take an edge rusher? Just we are good enough to do that and then try to get Roger McCreary or something like that later in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Kelvin Joyner wants to know, would we provide the couch or should he bring one with him? There is a couch.
That would be
here.
aggressive. There is there a couch here?
Oh, yeah. We could steal the one from the sales building.
Well, that seems like a lot of effort. Or we
well, much better than somebody bringing one over here.
Or we could just have one delivered. They're on the side of every road in this fucking city.
Would you not rather have a clean couch rather than one that's been sitting on the side of the road?
Yeah, but then I got to move it back, and there's oh my god, that sounds like so much shit. Or we could build a couch out of cardboard boxes. Colin,
I'm your huckleberry.
So I heard Williams did visit Kansas City last week. It sparked my draft scenarios for this draft in 10 days. That's why I asked that question. Jameis, I'm telling you, Jameis Williams has a very wide variety of potential outcomes team-wise, but not draft slot-wise. Majavi said you made me feel better about Pennick. You should. He's a very, very, very good player. Saint Zero said, I drink a mean bottle of SoCo and I kill it sitting on the couch. Me too, on both accounts. Majabi asked if I've heard anything about the Chargers trading into the second. The more likely scenario is that they trade up from 17. And what that would cost, I don't know. It just depends on where they go and who they're after.
He says he's drunk on Breece Hall, which brings up the question, where do you think the first running back comes off the board?
Third
Because really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't see the Buccaneers not taking one at the end of the second round.
There's a lot of like, not love with the running backs. And I'm telling you, you just remember where you heard this. I will not be shocked if James Cook's the first one to go. Won't be shocked in the fucking least. Which just pisses me off because I think I'm the first person I ever heard say that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get any fucking credit. I love James Cook. Still, I mean, and no, honestly, I have him behind Kenny Walker. I have him behind Breece Hall, but he is my 3 and has been from the jump. But there are a lot of teams in on him.
Mm-hmm. Rob Johnson says he feels like the Colts should take a wide receiver with their first pick. Do you
100%,
agree?
100%. Sky Moore would be that's your A1. But I think Sky Moore's going to end up going to the back end of the first, very beginning of the second. I do think he's a first-round guy. Who would that be? If you get into that point, George Pickens. Right now, every receiver has been pushed up.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe all the things that are being said right now, 19 of them are going to go in the first round. That's not true.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot of discussion right now on whether or not the record will be broken. I think the record is 7. Am I right?
Oh yeah,
7 wide receivers in the first round.
I almost see no way that doesn't go down because I will tell you, Drake London's going in the first, Jameson Williams going in the first, Olave, Garrett Wilson, most likely George Pickens. I've already said Olave.
Round? Yeah, you did.
I already said Olave. Christian Watson, Sky Moore. I think those 7 almost definitively are going, and then it gets a lot of maybes, and then it comes into trades and things like that. Marina Sands said in the comments, Penning will be going at 16. I think he'll be going at 14. From what I have heard, Baltimore's the drop dead on Trevor Penning. They're not going to let him get by them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get into what if Derek Stingley's there? I'm always cautious when teams say, well, we're his drop dead spot, because I feel like you're inciting somebody to do something. But very good comment. Highly likely Trevor Penning will be gone.
Now, Luigi Villain. Who the hell is that?
Luigi Villain.
Yeah. Thoughts on Luigi Villain? And apparently it's Luigi. I mean, we've gone through at least 350 prospects, I feel like, and I have never heard Jeremy say this name.
I do have a profile on him. Let's
you
see
do?
What it is.
Okay.
Luigi.
Yeah.
Villain. He played at Wake Forest. Oh, that's a kid out of Canada. I have watched very little tape on him. If I remember correctly, he was a higher level prospect, and then it just never really developed. He's priority undrafted free agent. It may not even be a priority undrafted free agent.
What does he play?
He's a defensive end.
Okay.
He was the one that when Boogie Basham left, he was the one that was supposed to be.
Okay.
And it just never developed. The Army tape was horrid. And if I remember, don't quote me on this. I think the highlight reel I watched on this kid was against Army, and I went, he can't play dead in a fucking Western because those big ass cadets just drove him around. I could be wrong. It could be somebody else. But, yeah, not a draftable grade from me.
Zeke Zero says they're hearing a lot about a quarterback to the Titans, and he hates that so much.
Very popular with Desmond Ridder. Somebody's in on Desmond Ridder. It's just a question of who.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to read the team. This is where it gets fun. Half the teams that pick between 20 and 45 have had Desmond Ridder in. So who is it that's trying to incite this, and why? I can't for the life of me figure out the love with him. I actually wouldn't mind him in Tennessee. He fits that system reasonably well. I just feel like bringing the circus to town, because the first time Ryan Tannehill has a bad game, that will get so loud. I got a friend that works in the front office of the Titans that she has no say on personnel things.
Right.
But that's a fun fan base. Nashville's one of my favorite cities in the country, so I always put feelers like, hey, what happened to that guy that died or got fired? Is that job still open?
Where will Arnold Ebiketie, I almost did it, be going? In my opinion, he's one of the best edge rushers, and he isn't really getting the hype that he deserves.
Depends how you talk to. Some people think he'll go back in the first round. I'm not one of them. I think he's a situational pass rusher to start, and I really like the fit with certain teams. Like, I would like him in New England. I would like him with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm trying to think of other teams in that range. I don't want to see his hand in the dirt. I want to see him stand up.
So, like another for Tampa?
Yeah, but I don't. That's not – you have bigger needs than that.
Oh, I agree. I felt like we had bigger needs last year when we took Joe Tryon Shoyinka.
Well, but he's a mobile piece. The thing about Tryon Shoyinka is that he could do a lot of shit. I mean, so he could be the fix-all, and that's not Ebiketie. And look, I like him as a pass rusher too. He just doesn't offer much else. So to me, it's hard for me to look at a guy that's literally just a situational pass rusher. Now, I said the same thing about Odafe last year, and he had moments and definitely showed why he was taken that high. But now, if the two of them were in the same draft class, I would rather have Oa than Ebiketie. So to me, he should go in the middle to back of the second round.
There was a lot of discussion in the comments when we were talking about why teams miss in the first round, and Rob Johnson said Mel Kiper's the reason. You know, I'm not so sure he's not right.
He's not right.
Because Mel Kiper, look, he's just...
Oh, let me say as loud as I can.
Yeah.
NFL teams put zero stock into what Mel Kiper says, or me, or Todd McShay, or any of these other guys. They could give a fuck less. And I'll be honest with you, most of us really irritate them because it makes you look bad. Because the thing that people don't realize, and I say this all the time, people like Mel and Todd and Bucky Brooks, Mike Mayock when he did this, we're evaluating guys for 32 teams. These teams are evaluating them for themselves. There are guys that a team could see in our system. He's a first-round player. I'll use the last player, Arnold Ebiketie. The New England Patriots could have him as the 15th best player in this draft because to them, what they need is a pass rusher on the other side of Judon that they can cycle Van Noy and just do all this other bullshit with. Okay, so then you look at the Jets, who might have him at 150 because he's not going to play with his hand in the dirt. So you have to understand, we have to funnel all of those things. And so we have a player at, like, I'll use Ebiketie again. I have him at 50 and some change. So a team takes him at 25 and they look stupid. And obviously Mel has a way bigger fan base than I do. And so does Todd and Bucky Brooks and all that shit. But when you have a consensus between all of us, nobody digs into why did they take him that high? Well, because they value him that way. You know, it has nothing to do with what we say.
I just feel
we're way more annoyance than we are anything else to NFL teams.
No doubt, but I feel like
I've been specifically said that's been said to my face.
I just feel like Mel gets caught up in the, I don't want to say the easiest, but it's the biggest narrative. It's the biggest narrative that can push. Like he's selling
clicks.
He's selling his mock drafts.
Well, I mean, here's the
and it's look at the next quarterback that the Carolina Panthers are going to take. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to, because I still feel like there's a great possibility that they will. But I've never heard him say a team shouldn't do that. I've never heard him say,
well, because it makes you look stupid. I mean, all right, so take my Jamar Chase take from last year. He had the greatest fucking rookie season ever. If that was Mel Kiper, he would be vilified on every – I mean, it's just the way it is.
Right.
If you're going to be legitimately honest about what you feel, which I've always said I'm going to be true to myself, you know, I'm not going to try to sell clicks, which, you know, my paycheck would tell you that. It just is what it is. You know, there's a blessing and a curse to it.
I mean,
we live in a click society. So, yeah, I mean, Mel Kiper's not going to wax poetic about Matt Araiza. It's just not going to happen. He's going to talk about quarterbacks because that's what people care about.
I mean, I don't know.
He's pandering to the lay fan.
Yeah, but I also feel like, you know, in his draft coverage as well, he's never got a negative thing to say about anybody.
Oh, bullshit.
Really?
Bullshit. Oh, he hammers teams all the time. Now, usually it's about, you know, the Jets because he loves doing it to the Jets. I mean, oh yeah, that's not true.
I don't know.
He totally will take a team to task.
Yeah, I just feel like he gets locked into these narratives.
We all do. It's impossible not to. You watch this much tape, there are going to be guys that jump off the page to you. I mean, Brandon Smith. Do I think Brandon Smith's a better linebacker than Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd or Chad Moma? No. But I talk about him all the time because I'm higher on him than other people are.
Right.
So, I mean, it's impossible to watch that much tape and not get locked in on somebody. Next question I'm seeing, most likely first-round bust. You know what? I'm going to steal this.
Any quarterback taken at 6.
100%. To me, that's a layup. That's almost too easy.
Oh, okay.
I am going to steal the Scouts Inc. board. Most likely first-round bust. There are about 3 names I want to say here. Trayvon Walker's very high. Trayvon Walker's high. Derek Stingley Jr.'s high. I mean, obviously any quarterback. I'll tell you one, and it's a guy that a lot of teams really like. And I get why they like him. It's just if you miscast him, you are going to rue the day you ever did this. Jalen Petrie.
Okay.
He's most likely going to go the back end of the first, beginning of the second. And if you don't cast him correctly, you are going to rue the day because it could make you look really bad.
Is he your Jamin Davis for this year? Because I think that was the pick last year in the first round.
Jamin Davis,
I
laughed.
Dumb.
I laughed out loud. Now, I will say he did play out of position some last year. I think if you can put the pieces around, I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm saying there's nobody with an IQ above salad dressing that thinks he deserved to be the 20th pick in the draft. It just didn't make any sense. But that's what happens when teams fall in love with the height, weight, speed. They fall in love with what you do in shorts. And so, yeah, I mean, those things happen. I'm trying to think if there's somebody else looking at McShay's board that I just think is destined to be dookie water. There are a lot of guys that people fell in love with, like Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen is a year away from being shit. Like, I had him to Buffalo in my last mock, and I love that because they don't actually need him to be anything unless somebody gets hurt. Now he goes to Detroit, and they trot him out there as the 2, then he's going to get fucking tortured. And I'll tell you another one. This is one that I really like, but his bust potential is higher because if you misuse him, it could go badly. Devin Lloyd. If you think he's going to be a force in coverage, he's good enough in coverage. If you drop him a lot, shoo, buddy. Teams will pick on him aggressively. Jason Archdeacon, just watched your video, loved it. Thank you for that. Dying for more draft content? Well, you are in the right place because that's pretty much all we're going to do for about the next 2 weeks. Can you explain why the Eagles don't value linebackers at all? I'd love for them to take one of the first 2 rounds, but I know they won't. That's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked that because I've had a lot of Eagles fans say that to me. First of all, thank you to all of the wonderful Eagles fans that have been flooding our – I have literally talked to more Eagles fans in the last 5 days than I think the entire time we've done this. The Eagles think schematically that they need rolled linebackers. All right, so I've got one guy that can cover. I've got one guy that can blitz. I've got one guy that kind of jack of all trades. So they don't value that. And there are a lot of teams that do that. The Jets, the 49ers, the Seahawks have always felt that way about corners. Well, since they've been as intertwined with former and current leaves off the same tree. They just think we can throw a lot of pieces at this. They don't value the position. Same reason Kyle Hamilton might not go in the top 10. There are certain teams that look at off-ball safety and go, well, I don't really give a shit about that. Then he runs a 4.7, and that's all you need to go, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, it's just positional value. You know, and there was a time that teams felt this way about quarterbacks. You know, some teams didn't think they had to have the A1 quarterback. Now, that's obviously been proven very stupid.
I hate the NFL in the comment section. Must be a Jaguars fan. Says
or me, because I hate the NFL too. I love the NFL draft, but damn, I hate the NFL.
Says it's just so crazy to me to think that the Chiefs just lost the AFC Championship game and they got 12 picks. Imagine what they can do next week. It's a well-run franchise.
I said and I'll do this with another team. First of all, the Chiefs lost a player, and they have that much draft capital. The Los Angeles Rams just won the Super Bowl. I said the depth of this draft is insane because of the COVID year and all the other things. Have you seen how many picks they have? I mean, they're all comp picks. There's a reason smart teams manipulate that formula with the way they do. Having that capital is very important. Even if it's in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, that capital is still really important too. But yeah, Kansas City's, I have a funny feeling, is going to be very mobile.
Yeah.
They have never been shy about going to get their guy, and now they've got more ammo than damn near any team in the league.
I am interested to see what they're going to do, as well as the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you think about how good of a drafting team the Baltimore Ravens are, and what is it? They've got 5 4th-round draft picks that they're going to just be able to add depth upon depth upon depth to what they already have. And as a team that doesn't have a whole lot of holes. I feel like that's what smart teams are doing. Smart franchises are they're loading up on draft capital in this draft particularly because of the depth that is there. The New Orleans Saints, I've seen the rumors that the New Orleans Saints may package their picks together to try to move up in the draft. My first thought is, why would you do that?
Who are you talking about?
The New Orleans Saints, taking their 2 first-round draft picks and moving up in the draft.
They're not moving up.
I
It's
know.
all smoke.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, why would they do that? They know that this draft is chock full of talent. Get all the picks that you can.
I mean, I would understand moving up. I wouldn't understand moving up after you've already moved up. They already did that because they got to the spot that they wanted to be. Rob Johnson said Kenneth Walker to the Bills in the 2nd round. I've had that for a long time, and I'm not averse to it. Scott Cutshall all over Troy Anderson. Love to see him in the hands of a great open-minded coach. Me too. I love him in Cincinnati. I know Scott's a Bengals fan. I love him in basically any 4-3 alignment. I do not want him learning a new position. So I want him on a 4-3 team.
Then here you go. Saints Dynasty. Does Jordan Davis at 16, should it happen, Tyler Smith at 19 give the Saints top 3 to 5 in the trenches in the NFL?
I like Tyler Smith a lot, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've just been deferential to the Saints. I've seen you do this enough times. Ryan Ramczyk, there were a lot of people that didn't love him, and now he's the best right tackle in the league. So they're this in on Tyler Smith. There's a reason. It's because that's another good reference to the Mel Kiper thing. Not every team would love him. The Saints do. Now, Jordan Davis at 16, I don't think he's going to be there. I really don't. There's just a murderer's row of teams that would be picking there, and I don't see any way that the Saints don't take a receiver at 16.
I agree.
And I'll be honest with you, I won't be shocked if it's Chris Olave. That's the one that I've yet to hear anybody talk about with the Saints, and that one probably makes the most sense. I get Jameson Williams, I really do, but you have Marquez Callaway, who's kind of the high flyer. I need the tactician. I need the guy that can just do everything. He can be a deep threat because Michael Thomas is not much of a deep threat. He's the slot guy that's just so crafty in the routes and shit like that. I won't be shocked if Chris Olave is the pick at 16.
Okay. Next question here.
Looks like John DeLon.
John DeLon, where are you predicting Stingley to get drafted, and will Cade York be drafted?
Cade York, yes, he will be drafted. I think Stingley's drop dead spot is probably Minnesota. I don't think he's going to get past Minnesota, but if he did, his drop dead spot would be Philadelphia. There is part of me that thinks a lot of this with Philadelphia is smoke for Stingley to fall in their laps. Stingley's the guy that could be a bust, or he could make a lot of us look like dipshits.
Cade York, will he get drafted?
Yes. 7th round, late.
Okay. Rob Johnson asks, who the hell is Mel Kiper? He is the double for Bram Stoker's Dracula. Have you not noticed that? Like, the hair continues to get like wider and wider at the top.
That happens as you get older. Look at me.
But the receding hairline keeps going back. He looks like Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Tyler Cunningham, DeMarvin Leal or Logan Hall better fit for the Ravens? I'm going to say DeMarvin Leal. The hate on him's gotten stupid. To me, he could have a career similar to Calais Campbell. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be that good. I think that's his ceiling. And Logan Hall is very pass rush centric. I would long term. I think they both fit, but I like DeMarvin Leal for now.
Kelvin asks, with Henry Ruggs and Nate Hobbs having their legal issues, should the Raiders actually be worried about their young guys being in Vegas with money, or is it just a coincidence?
I'm going to tell you something a wise man once told me about Vegas. Vegas is legalized debauchery. Debauchery happens everywhere. We are in a small town in North Carolina, and you can ask him. I've done some debaucherous shit. Wasn't necessarily illegal. I've always said that's overrated. The idea that Vegas was this, just den of deplorableness that was going to suck up NFL players. Henry Ruggs, it had nothing to do with the fact he was in Vegas. It had to do with the fact he was a dumbass that got behind the wheel of a car and killed somebody.
Right.
You could do that in Vegas. You could do that in Canada. You could do it anywhere. You shouldn't and don't do crimes. But so I'm going to say no. I don't worry about that. If it happens on and on down the line, then maybe it's something to talk about. John Lund said Thibodeau is the most likely first-round bust. It's very possible. Thibodeau is also the one that could make people look very stupid.
Did Ty Davis Price make a mistake declaring for the draft this year?
I shouldn't have said that way. Or I shouldn't have rung the bell there. You skipped one.
Did I?
Put a pin in that. Dean James Talley, landing spot for Troy Anderson. Like I said, I think it's any 4-3 team. You're going to have to be able to use his athleticism. For me, him learning a new position is just a really bad idea. He's so raw, but the athleticism is really intriguing. Minnesota's one that I've looked at a bunch of times because I know they're moving to a 3-4, but they made a lot out of Anthony Barr just being super athletic, in spite of the fact he never really did anything that well. I know it's a different staff. I get that. Basically, any 4-3 team would be intriguing to me. I really like him in that Saleh, San Francisco, Miami, Jets alignment. I think he could do a lot in that.
Saquon Sutton.
Hold on. We got to go back to the question that I skipped.
Oh.
Did Ty Davis Price make a mistake declaring for the draft? To me, if you're a draftable running back, you go. I don't care if you're the last pick of the draft. You go. Running backs have the same age range that the tsetse fly usually has. So if you're going to catch a deal in the NFL, you should go. And I do think Ty Davis Price probably gets drafted. It's just going to be really late. And if not, he will be a super priority free agent.
Saquon Sutton says, Evan Neal or Charles Cross?
Depends on what you're asking me. 10 years from now, I'll say Charles Cross. Week 1, Evan Neal. Charles Cross is very pass-centric right now. He's going to have to learn to be the Hagamali, unless he winds up in one of these spreads. That's why I love him so much with the Chargers. And I'm not saying it's not Arizona, but they're not as running-centric. Like Charles Cross with Baltimore, I'm not going to like that. He's too finesse for right now. I like him in Carolina a lot. Evan Neal is just the safest player in this draft. I know exactly what he's going to be. Best case scenario, he's a half-assed top 15 left tackle. Worst case scenario, he's a top 15 right tackle. Worst case scenario, he's a guard. And a damn good one.
Michael.
So basically the answer to that, higher ceiling on Cross, higher floor on Evan Neal.
Michael De La Cruz says, do the Vikings have to go corner in the first round?
They don't have to. It depends who falls in their lap. If Stingley and Sauce are gone, then they shouldn't. They should trade back and try to figure out, what to do from there. My fear with corner is that two of them are going to go really too high. Who those are, I'm not sure, but one of them's most likely Kyler Gordon. I don't dislike the kid. It's just it's having him at 22 or 23 or wherever it was I just saw him. That's borderline nuts to me.
Matthew Hoffman says, since the Jets have so much draft capital, what do you think is their biggest need? Not who will they take first, but what is the biggest hole to fill for your New York Jets?
I think they've needed a pass rusher for as long as I can remember. Putting one on the other side of Carl Lawson really sets up that defense. And then it becomes a question of, how do you feel about Mekhi Becton? The lost year, does that bother you? If it does, then you're looking to – I'll be honest with you. If I was the Jets right now and somebody would offer me a 2 for Mekhi Becton, I'd probably move him. I'd probably move him and take Ike McQuanu and roll on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, for me, I know I have George Fant that played really well in that system last year that I could play on the left side. I could put Aquanu on the right. And now I've got just a road grader offensive line between Vera Tucker, Aquanu, and Laken Tomlinson. So I would say probably edge rusher, and then number one receiver for Zach Wilson's pretty high up there.
Bucs fan Andrew Ayers says, what do you think about Monteric Brown?
Late round guy, very developmental. He fits into that Tampa Bay scheme. Schematically, I mean, and that's the thing you got to remember about these teams that are really zone heavy is that it's a specific kind of corner. You know, Carlton Davis, that's one of the things I laughed about before Carlton Davis got paid with Tampa Bay. I looked at the scheme in Tampa. I looked at the scheme with the Jets and went, okay, you have 2 landing spots. Because any of these other teams that need a corner, you don't fit. The thing you do is not what they do. Monteric Brown, to me, 5th, late 5, somewhere in the 6th. Would be a nice developmental piece. You know, I like a lot of the Arkansas guys because they all just have, I'm going to say, a little fight in them. You know, every guy that played at Arkansas, seemingly, I'm at that. Man, you just got a hard ass streak to you, and I like that. A lot of raw with Monteric Brown, developmental piece. Start on special teams. Could turn into something down the line.
Mm-hmm. As always, we do appreciate all of the likes that we get and the comments. Saints Dynasty, we appreciate the kind words here.
Oh yeah, the likes, the super chats. They're they go a long way. It's been a fucking long day. I had a podcast interview at 7:45 this morning, and since apparently no gas station close to here had a fucking credit card reader that worked, I was a little late, and I've been scrounging since.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate all the shares as well. So
all
thank
of those
you, Saints
things.
Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean it's really funny that the first year we did this, we started in June and then did the draft at the end of April, and we had like 1,000 people that watched the show, and it was like everything died until the draft came back around, and then everybody came out of the woodwork and went, "Holy shit!" I've gotten a ton of Twitter messages. And I love bouncing back and forth. I had somebody who was an Eagles fan. I had a Saints fan the other day that messaged me on Twitter out of the blue. Asked me something that I've eaten since then. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Jason Archdeacon, with profiles and grades for draftees being very scheme-centric, is this the reason why the same teams, for example, the Jaguars, the Jets, are usually bad due to high turnover on staff and scheme changes?
100% it is. Because you're chasing your tail. You ever watch a dog chase its tail? What the fuck are you going to do if you catch it there, dipshit? Are you going to bite down on it? Steal your tail? And that's, I mean, all right, look at the Jets. There's never been stability. Since Rex, there hasn't been stability. So you had googly-eyed Adam Gase, and now you've got Robert Saleh. Well, everything that Rex Ryan did does not translate to Saleh. And then you had Adam Gase that was in the middle. You're just wasting time. I mean, all of it was just a great big waste of time. There's a reason you look at a team like Pittsburgh, and they're just the beacon of stability because they've had the same dudes in the building for 15 years. So everything they do is moving in the right direction. But you look at these all right, give me a team whose coach is on the hot seat.
Coaches on the hot
Carolina
seat?
Panthers.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers.
We're affiliates of them.
Yeah.
All right, so look at the players on the back side of the draft that Carolina would draft with their limited capital. So they're going to shoot for the stars, most likely. Well, yeah, Fitterer could be there, but all right, let's say you take a developmental prospect in the 7th round, 6th round, whatever, and then you bring in another scheme that he doesn't fit into. Doesn't make any sense. And then you just do that every 3 years. That's been the Jacksonville Jaguars' problem. I mean, for the love of God, I do this for a living. I can't keep track of what defense they play. At this point, you could tell me they were playing the box and fucking won, and I would go, fuck,
sure.
Fuck, who cares? I think they'll be playing something different 2 years from now when old Dougie Doug. Jaguars fans, I really don't hate you, but God, I hate your GM with an undying passion.
It's just so easy. You're such a great punching bag with that front office. Alexis Dubuque What do you think of Jaquan Brisker for the Eagles?
He's a bad man. Somebody rubbed their Peter on his baby doll as a child, and he's been pissed about it since. Or somebody farted in his dinner, or like didn't wipe the sweat off his bicycle. I don't know why he's so angry at the world, but I like that a lot. I've had him with the Saints, and it's one of those things of once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the best I ever saw of Marcus May was when he had that enforcer. The problem with Marcus May is that he can do a little bit of everything. So the Jets, it's not teams because he's only played for one. Go, hey, well, you can do this. Yeah, I mean, I could put on a dress and sing My Fair Lady, but that's not what I do best. It might be.
Yeah.
Seems like a thing I would do.
And the last question here before we call it a day. John DeLon says, last question about LSU players. Will Ed Ingram and Neil Farrell Jr. be drafted? I will say
Ed Ingram will be drafted in the second day. Ed Ingram's a guard that a lot of people like me really like.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him. Now, I think the problem that he may run into if he slides a little bit is because Chase and Hines, I feel like the industry is catching up to me on there's nothing different between the two of them. Like grade, they're right there together. I think I had 10 guys between them. And some people feel like Ed Ingram's a 3 and Chase and Hines should barely be drafted. That makes absolutely – if you like one, you should damn well like the other. Neil Farrell is just – there's a whole shitload of him, like a bunch. He's a lot of person. And I think he's a little scheme-specific. He needs to go to the right place, and where that is. There's been a lot of loose interest in him, but I think even with that, this is one of those times that I don't know how to say what I want to say without being a dick.
When has that ever stopped you before?
Well, it's not a fucking bad point you got there. Neil Farrell's one of those guys that I look at is probably going to be drafted in the late 5, 6, early 7 window. And yes, the range when you get to day 3, it is that wide, especially in this class. And if he's in the right situation, he'll be fantastic. If he's in the wrong situation, he could be out of the league in 3 years. No. And it wouldn't even nominally surprise me, to be really honest with you. So, a lot to like. And like DeLon said, you like him as a run blocker. See, Ingram's one of those guys that I look at with like the Ravens, the Steelers of I'm going to run the ball and I'm going to run it down your neck. The Eagles. That's the best way. The best thing the Eagles can do to protect Jalen Hurts is run the damn ball. Run the damn ball.
There you go.
It felt like the time.
We had to get one in there.
Holy shit.
All right, it has been...
I actually think I have smoke. Like, if I took my headset off, I think there's smoke coming out of it. I did every bit of that with no notes.
Good job.
I just realized that.
Good for you. That's why you are at ESPN Draft Nerd on Twitter. Hit him up with other questions.
I had my visit list.
We will be
We're
doing...
almost there.
All of the draft content here leading up to the April 28th draft, and as well as, of course, covering each and every pick live here in the Ingles studio.
We'll be doing another one of these. It was originally going to be Wednesday, but we're off Wednesday, and I didn't realize that when I said it the first time, so it'll probably be Thursday, Friday if I had a wager. I'll schedule it out and make sure everybody knows. Be sure to follow us at the Sportsocracy on all the social medias. And we still got copious number of mock drafts. The big board, the big board with the my submission in the mock draft contest. We're close, but there's still so far to go.
There's still so far to go.
I already need a damn nap.
Yeah, it will be draft overload for the next couple of weeks here in the Sportsocracy. Always brought to you by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings.
Hold on, I got to give somebody credit. Whoever asked me about Waluigi, I don't remember the name.
Where was that? It was Alex something, wasn't it?
Somebody asked me about Waluigi.
It was Alex Majabi.
Was it Alex Majabi?
Yep.
Are you sure? Yep, it was. Congratulations to you. You said a guy that I actually had to pause at this point. in the draft process, which is hard to do. Then I go to that's actually where I went to my notes and I did have my draft tracker up, so I had to go to that and go, oh yeah, that guy, the Army just fucking skull rocked.
If you haven't already, hit that like button, share it out with your friends as well. We do cover each and every team in the NFL, and subscribe to the channel, please, so you will get all of the alerts when our extra content comes out. We still have perfect 7-round mock drafts coming out for each and every team.
This video will become the one for the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders will be out at 7, and the Cincinnati Bengals at 8.
Indeed. You are in the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.